Thank you for watching. I'm John Razimus. This episode is a book review of a book that I read. It is entitled 50 Shades of Grey Aliens. In consideration of Aliens, UFOs, Billy Meier, Enric von Daniken, Robert Temple, Travis Walton, Whitley Strieber, Ancient Aliens, Manly P. Hall, and more. There's a lot of research that went on in this book. It's a very thick book, really good for references. Don't judge a book by its title, because 50 Shades of Grey Aliens, I'm going to be brutally honest. In no universe am I ever going to be typing in on Amazon or any other book place 50 Shades, alright? In no universe would I ever type in 50 or Shades, let alone 50 Shades. So, obviously, the author, they're just joking around. It's in humor. And there's nothing wrong with humor, We as human beings on planet Earth, some people take things so seriously. I don't even know too much about the 50 Shades movie, other than it's not my style. I didn't watch it. But 50 Shades of Grey Aliens, despite the horrible title, and I'm going to say it's horrible. That's my opinion. This is actually a really good reference book. I made notes, and let's go through the notes. I did read through the whole book, and there's a lot of cool references with even drawings and illustrations, proving and showing the history of aliens in pop culture. The First Men on the Moon, H.G. Wells. I think the author is trying to make the point that entities, perhaps negative entities, are using and drawing inspiration for their shape-shifting from pop culture of actual comic books, movies, cartoons. Here's the famous Crowley's Lamb from 1919, and it predates a lot of these things, but this guy shows a really nice timetable where you can see that it doesn't predate H.G. Wells, The First Man on the Moon, 1901. Does not predate that. So perhaps the entity Crowley saw was inspired by H.G. Wells' Big-Headed Alien, 1901. So he talks about Whitley Strieber. On page 321, Whitley Strieber's initial discernment of the experience was accurate as he wrote about in his book Transformations. Page 44 to 45, 172 and 181. Increasingly, I felt as if I were entering a struggle that might even be more than life and death. It might be a struggle for my soul. So far, the word demon had never been spoken among the scientists and doctors who were working with me. I worried about the legendary cunning of demons. I wondered if I might not be in the grip of demons, if they were not making me suffer for their own purposes, or simply for their enjoyment. I felt an absolutely indescribable sense of menace. It was hell on earth. I couldn't move. Couldn't cry out, couldn't get away. I'd lay as still as death. Whatever was there seemed so monstrously ugly, so filthy and dark and sinister. Of course, they were demons. They had to be. So that's a quote from Whitley Strieber. Wow, that's a pretty rare quote. That's a good find, I have to admit. That is a really good find. So why doesn't Whitley Strieber talk about his visitors being demons much more than beyond his book Transformations? Because when you go to a UFO convention and you mention the word demons, people immediately go, that's religious dogma. That's religious dogma, man. But the fact of the matter is, these interdimensional entities, if they exist, they're freaking demons, alright? They have the characteristics of demons. People don't like the word demons, and they try to even show you the history of the word demons. If you go through the history of the word demon, it doesn't always mean evil. In modern day terminology, it does always have an evil connotation. We can go back to the ancient version, which isn't as evil, more kind of neutral. Could be good, could be bad. Consider it what you want. 50 Shades of Grey Aliens has a lot of proofs that gray aliens are negative entities, and it's a really good book to reference many different subjects. So here is a question posed to Billy Meier, answered through Michael Horn, Billy Meier's official spokesperson. In one of your contacts with Ask It regarding the Tunguska incident, she said to you more than 4,300 life forms of extraterrestrial origin were destroyed during this gigantic destruction, which only leads back to the terrestrial Christian cult. Because the actual reason for this destruction was the insanity of this terrestrial religion. Specifically, how did the Christian cult play a role in the destruction of this extraterrestrial craft? This is the most freaking hilarious part of the book. It sounds exactly like a South Park episode. This is straight from the word of Billy Meier, or Billy Meier's spokesperson, Michael Horn, about a spaceship that was exploded, destroyed, killing 4,300 aliens, all because of evil Christianity. If this isn't the dumbest example of why Christianity is bad, it's hilarious. This is the answer. About 1,160 years ago, 3 races of extraterrestrials from faraway galaxies of this universe came to Earth. They got in contact with terrestrial priests and studied our religions. After several years of study, they decided to teach their peoples according to the Christian tradition. A deadly mistake. Within 11 years, the long peaceful time was ended and war broke out between families and nations, etc. When one of the 3 worlds was destroyed during the world wars, other extraterrestrials stopped the insanity, and all terrestrial religions, and especially Christianity, Christian faith, was strictly prohibited, and he was also forbidden to visit Earth again. And should a ship get lost on Earth and would not be able to get off again, the ship and its crew should eliminate themselves. This occurred about 1,000 years after the first visit on Earth, when a ship had to land in Russia due to a severe technical damage. Let me guess, what is that, Chernobyl? You gotta understand, this Billy Meier guy concocts history that never happened. This is hilariously fake history. Wow, it's as bad as it gets. The ship was able to rise only a few hundred meters above ground, and because within the ship a terrestrial epidemic had started, it was decided to eliminate the ship in a huge atomic explosion a few hundred meters above ground. What do you know? Chernobyl was extraterrestrials killing themselves because Christianity is too evil. We'd rather just hit the detonation button than join your Earth cult. Speaking of cults, stay away from UFO cults, such as Billy Meier's UFO cult, is my advice. Billy Meier is a very charismatic individual. Here's one example of his extreme ambassadorship over the entire planet. The embodiment of the peaceful Palladians. On page 233, Billy Meier said the following. Jitchi, I advise you to talk to Ask It somewhat more politely, otherwise I'll punch you in the nose. So Billy Meier kind of has a temper. He has a little couple of demons hiding behind that false doctrine that he's pushing. I have no desire to punch anyone in the nose, but Billy Meier really hates Christianity, and I'll tell you why. It's from his perspective of competition. The author of 50 Shades of Grey Aliens, who happens to be named Ken Ammi. So Ken Ammi says that if you look at Billy Meier's history, you can see he did study mysticism and the occult in India. Before Billy Meier hoaxed flying saucers, he hoaxed glowing crosses in the sky. And he kind of formulated him being the reincarnation of Jesus. And this book does touch upon that. But he doesn't call himself Jesus. He prefers Jamanuel, of all weird things. But when I was talking about Meier changing names, Meier has an affinity for Judas Iscariot, of all people. The one apostle of Jesus that betrayed Jesus. So he claims to be in the reincarnation of Jesus, yet his favorite apostle is Judas Iscariot. That's a huge red flag right there. Even if you don't believe in any of that religious stuff, someone who claims to be a reincarnation of Jesus loves Judas Iscariot and says, no, 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 no. Judas Iscariot was a good guy. The bad guy? And this is where he changes the name, and it's almost comedic how bad it is. How bad the name change is almost comedic. Billy Meier said Judas Iscariot is innocent, and Judas Iscariot is the guilty one. He removes a couple letters off of Judas Iscariot's name. And it's a repeating theme you see with Billy Meier. He'll take a couple letters off of something, claim it's something new, when it's not. The author is really dead set on his opinions. And I have to admit, I'm not exactly of the opinion of the author, but I get the gist, and I do go along with a lot of what the author talks about. But just one example where I will disagree is he makes reference Billy Meier is kind of like Buddha. First of all, I see Buddha as an enlightened individual. I see Buddha as someone that meditated, went up into the different Bardo realms, or at least saw the different Bardo realms, according to the mythology of the Buddha. Now, I personally believe Buddha existed. I think he was probably a really good guy, probably ascended, probably enlightened, probably pretty smart, pretty bright individual. I see Buddha as a positive image, not negative. But the author talks about how deceitful and deceptive Meier is, and then he references him to the Buddha. The Buddha didn't write anything down. The Buddha didn't hoax any UFOs. The Buddha didn't form a cult, as far as I know. I'm sure people followed him, but it was a different situation. Billy Meier, on the other hand, is a very deceptive person. He hoaxes 24/7, and we have the photographs and the faked photographs to prove it. But he proves pretty clearly that Billy Meier isn't what he says he is. So the author makes a reference of Aleister Crowley's demonic doctrine mirrors the modern New Age ET doctrine. I have to say, the occult and the New Age extraterrestrials, their doctrines definitely go hand in hand. It's not a coincidence. It's because they're the same entities. Fact, fraud, or fiction? Ancient aliens. And he talks about Von Daniken, one of the main people behind the entire Ancient Aliens show. So this is someone talking to Von Daniken, the guy who's part of Ancient Aliens. So you're saying the text is letter perfect when it describes the so-called spaceship, but completely inaccurate when it records what the pilot had to say. Isn't that an inconsistent position? So this is referring to a Bible reference, which Van Daniken, obviously, it takes out of context. These days, people find aliens, UFOs in the Bible. They'll find it anywhere they want to see it, even if it's not there. Van Daniken replies, I'm very sorry, but theologians are in the same position. It's true that I accept what I like and reject what I don't like. So that's open shut case of the guy being a bad researcher, not showing the truth, just showing what he wants you to see. Alright, this is an example of how bad the archaeology and the science involved in Ancient Aliens is. A supposed cave painting, when in reality it's not a cave painting, but it appears to be an illustration for a magazine for the Sputnik, April 1st, 1968. It's an advertisement. So I guess Ancient Aliens claimed he was a cave painting when he was a 1968 advertisement. Just photoshopped and altered to look like a cave painting. So that's the type of research you're going to get out of Ancient Aliens. I don't recommend that show. I know there's been a spin-off of people watching it for comedy reasons, but it's definitely not accurate. So on Ancient Aliens, the research is so bad they even rip off apparently H.P. Lovecraft and claim it's ancient beliefs when it's not. Like on page 285, he describes Cthulhu from Von Daniken plagiarizing H.P. Lovecraft. And, that's a really good point. I think you nailed it in the coffin. That guy doesn't know what he's talking about. The entire show is entertainment, yet it's on the History Channel. People see that little history logo, and they're like, you know what? This is history. It's true. And it's not. It's a big fat load of crap. Manly P. Hall. I'm a fan of Manly P. Hall. He was a Mason, and the author kind of references him as an evil Mason. Now, I'm not a Mason by any means, shape, or form, but I do see Freemasonry as it can very much be a neutral thing, the pursuit of knowledge. All right, I would say 99, maybe these days it's 90 or 80%. Maybe it's even down to 75%. But I would say the majority of Freemasons, Masons, it's the pursuit of knowledge and helping people out. It's a fraternity of brotherhood and sisterhood on the female side of it. I'm not a member, though, so you want to throw negative stuff about it, it's not going to faze me. But Manly P. Hall, he doesn't know everything, all right? He built up a great legacy. He has a great library. I visited it. It's very awesome. I want to go back. He did know a lot about the secrets of the esoteric world, the secrets of the occult, and he liked to focus on the positive, the good things. Manly P. Hall was anti-Crowley. This author is anti-Crowley. But this author kind of throws Manly P. Hall in the realm of he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's true, Manly P. Hall didn't have much of an opinion when it came to any spiritual aspect of flying saucers or UFOs. Because he lived way back in the day. Roswell was still a pretty fresh news story when Manly P. Hall was still alive. So he gave a lecture on it without talking about his firsthand witness of a flying saucer or some such thing. But Manly P. Hall, he's written so many books, and if you just get to pinpoint one lecture, perhaps he was inaccurate in his guesses in that one lecture. I'll give you that. Manly P. Hall gave many lectures. He had his own lecture hall, and so it got to the point where a lot of people followed him and paid attention. And so he would just talk about anything. If I went up and talked about UFOs, I would talk about the spiritual aspect. Manly P. Hall talked about the physical aspect, how they're probably physical military craft. He didn't have much opinion. He didn't know much about UFOs. It was an unknown subject back then. It's still unknown today. At the end of this book, in the new edition, it talks about Sean Stone, the son of Oliver Stone, how he went on that episode of Conspiracy Theory with Jesse Ventura. They went to the Skinwalker Ranch, the ranch where George Lucas, he got the inspiration for Luke Skywalker from the Skinwalker Ranch, which has a history of Native American shape-shifting mythology in its history. And Sean Stone supposedly said he's going to summon the spirits. Now, I have to check out that episode. I have to find it. Summon the spirits. That does. And then he says, aliens. I'm going to summon the aliens. Which reminds me of the alien summoner, the UFO summoner. If you could close your eyes and summon the aliens. If you can do that, and if it actually works, he ain't summoning extraterrestrials, all right? Extraterrestrials, they don't come to occult rituals, even if it's on the fly, made up ones. But spirits do. Whether you think spirits exist or not, interdimensional entities can show up. But actual physical extraterrestrials showing up when Sean Stone summons them doing a ritual, there seems to be a huge taboo in connecting aliens with demons. This book does a good job connecting the two. It's a really good reference, despite the name 50 Shades of Grey Aliens. I thank you for watching. This has been John Razimus. More episodes coming soon. I'm still going to do many episodes, the ones I promised. They're all coming soon. I thank you for watching. Be seen.